Hello, happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome to another episode of this so fucking great variety show with Mad Max and special guest, a friend of mine, near and dear to my heart, Mr. Grant Bell. Grant, thank you so much for taking time out to be here with us this evening. I greatly appreciate it.
You're welcome, my friend. Glad to be here.
We are glad to have you. And though my memory isn't what it used to be, I believe this is our first time doing a show together.
Yes. Yeah, I believe you are correct.
And for those of you, let me give a little background on Grant. Grant is a genius. I mean that sincerely in every sense of the word. He is a financial genius. He is a mechanical genius. He is a individual who thinks outside the box and has a lot of knowledge when it comes to all the aforementioned things, amongst a gaggle of other things. And right now, Mr. Grant is living down south. I'll keep his location private unless he wants to share that with you. And he's big into restoration of older equipment, such as your John Deere's, pretty much small engine wise anything. He specializes in European automobiles, Mercedes and BMW in particular. One of the greatest techs I've ever seen and had the privilege to work with. And aside from that, he's got a YouTube channel, and we're privileged and grateful to have Grant on here with us tonight. We're going to talk about football. We're going to talk about tools. So, Grant.
Two awesome things. I appreciate the intro. You're too kind, sir.
Oh, sure. Pleasure's mine, brother.
All right. So starting off in sports, I mean, yeah, football and tools. I don't think you can go wrong there for, a little bit of couch talk, getting into what's really important here. So
Exactly. Forget about what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
Pause that. Take it out of your mind. You're here to relax. We're here to talk about things, fun stuff.
Yeah.
Now, going back to this last weekend in the divisional round, we had a total of 4 games. And just for everybody, we went 50-50 again. So no big surprise, no losing season again so far. No losing record all of the weeks, minus the preseason. And now we have 2 games left. These 2 games are going to consist of the Rams of Los Angeles against the Seahawks of Seattle. And the other game is going to be the Broncos of Denver versus the Patriots of New England. I am excited about these games primarily because, to me, the championship weekend is like watching 2 Super Bowls in a sense.
Yeah. I'd agree with that.
I think that last week we got served 2 good games, that being the Rams game and also the Broncos-Bills game. And then we got served 2 games that made me want to not watch football anymore. That being that disaster that we saw in New England, and what happened to San Francisco, I don't know. You go in one week to Philadelphia and just look amazing, and then the next week it's like you guys are all on heroin. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, that's a good point. So what do you want to start with? You want to start with the The games that occurred, or what we think about the games that are coming up?
What do we think about the games coming up, and anything you want to add to what you thought did or didn't favor the opposing team or winning team in this last week's matchup? Because there were some controversial calls in some of the games that could have potentially led to a different outcome. Potentially, I'm not saying that it did, but there were some calls, especially in that Buffalo game, to where they called it a interception, though it was very
Yeah, and yeah, that's a good point. So the way I look at it is, and I'm a Chiefs fan, so you could say, oh, well, he's a Chiefs fan, he doesn't like the Bills. I have no problem with the Bills, actually. So, I think that they're deserving of getting through. And, I think there were a lot of folks saying, hey, Mahomes isn't here to block you, so go run for it, buddy. But back to that call and a lot of other calls, I think in this current day and age, you got a lot of folks that are constantly looking at these plays in these reviews where they've came down to, okay, it may be a game decider, right? And, I think that you get to a point where you really have to break it down and look at the NFL rule book. And I think a lot of folks do not look at the rule book. I think a lot of folks get passionate about certain things. So we take that specific play, what constitutes a catch for the offense, right? So you have to complete the process of the catch. You have to maintain control of the ball through the process of the catch and make sure that you maintain that control when you're on the ground and then you're down, right?
Until you're ruled down. Yes, that is correct.
Okay. So I think a lot of folks think that, okay, well, he had caught the ball and then the defense had ripped it away. And when you look at it from that perspective, you say, okay, well, offense always wins dual possession when going down, right?
Kind of like tie goes to the runner in baseball.
Exactly. The issue is that they're looking at is if you technically never had full possession of the ball, then the defense can take it away. And there is no, okay, you are awarded possession when it's dual possession, okay, because you never had possession to begin with.
Exactly. And the ball was always in play and never made contact with the ground.
The ball's in play, it never made contact with the ground. So I think you can try to split hairs there, but I agree with the call, and I think you're going to have a lot of folks that are upset about that because they're Bills fans and they feel like every single year they get slighted in some way. And I get it. I'd be really upset and frustrated too. I mean, I feel for that fan base, but when it comes to that call, I think they made the correct call. And if I'm going to be honest about it, I don't like putting, if I'm on the Bills, if I'm Josh Allen or I'm on their defense, I don't want to put my team in a position to where potentially a bad call could decide the game anyway.
Right.
Because then I know that, hey, one little bad call and this could be going the wrong way, whether I agree with it or not. So I want to make sure, hey, play for that lead. Never take your foot off the pedal. You need to go 4 full quarters,
Right.
These guys are playing. This is the playoffs. Everybody's turning up their heat, right?
Exactly.
So even if you have to go out there and basically kill yourself, if you know that you're going out and you're trying to win a Super Bowl, especially for a fan base that is starved for one for decades and decades, man, I know these games are tough. I'm obviously I don't play in the NFL, neither do you. I mean, we're just regular guys. We just watch it and consume it and enjoy it. But I feel for Josh. I feel for the fan base, and I know it sucks, but I don't like, if I were on a team, I would never want to put my team in a position to where I felt like the outcome of the game was in the ref's hands.
Yeah.
You know,
100%.
So the other one, man, we're talking about that disaster. I'm going to be honest. I didn't even really watch that game. I saw the score on my phone. I'm like, there's no point. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to San Francisco. But, you know, if I were to say and I were to think, okay, let's go back and even maybe even before the playoffs started, and I said, okay, who do you think from the AFC is going to be in the AFC Championship? I probably would have told you Denver and New England, right? No, I would have liked to see the Bills get there, but I am not surprised that those two are in the AFC Championship right now.
Do you think that Sean McDermott deserved to get fired?
You know, there's a lot that goes on in the locker room that, you know, normal folks like us don't know about. I don't know what the politics were. I don't really maybe know what the relationship he had with the owner and the players were. I'm sure they respected the hell out of him. You know, you kind of get in this funk. You know, as a Chiefs fan, you may know it probably is kind of like their Marty Schottenheimer, right? So this guy's always good. He's always going to give you a winning team. You're always going to be in the mix.
Let me interrupt you real quick because you said the perfect parallel with Marty Schottenheimer, and we had him as the head coach for the Chiefs for basically from 89 till 98 or 99, 10 years. Marty would consistently take us to the water, but he would never let us drink.
Yep.
And that is kind of what Sean McDermott is to me, to a point. Now, I'm not by any means saying that he's a bad coach or decisions that he made caused them to lose. He's not out there throwing the ball to anybody. He's not out there having to tackle anybody. He doesn't have to catch any balls. He just has to make the right call at the right time and hope that it's executed properly and it gets you points.
Yeah. Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong. I think Marty had a similar experience when he was at the Chargers, you know. I mean, they were really good when he was there, but they had about the same problem the Chiefs did.
Yeah.
You know? I think that was in full force with Phillip Rivers and LaDainian Tomlinson, and I mean all those guys. I mean they were a force in the AFC West, but they never got past that hump there. You know,
I want to say actually that when Marty was with the Chargers, it was still Drew Brees before Phillip Rivers had actually come in, but I could be mistaken on that, and you might be right. I'd have to check.
There could have been a little overlap there. Or something.
I believe there was. And it's not like Marty was ever a bad coach. He was a great coach in Cleveland. He was a great coach in Kansas City. He was a great coach in San Diego. He was a great coach in Washington. Yes, Washington. But it never garnered him many championships, no rings. So,
yeah. So then, you know, if you're that fan base and you're like, hey, you know, we need a Super Bowl. I think that's the way they're looking at it. We got the guys. We need a Super Bowl. You know, people are talking about us. We're in the AFC East. You know, Tom Brady's out. You know, we've got our Josh Allen. He's kind of the new face, if you will, of the NFC or the AFC East. And you know, it's like, all right. They may get their guy that gets them there. But there's not a lot of great coaches that can get you there in the NFL. There's a lot of good coaches, but there's not a lot of great coaches.
No.
You're always taking a gamble when you do this. You take a guy like Sean McDermott or Mike Tomlin, any of these guys, I mean, Harbaugh got hired in 2 seconds because there's always the other teams that are like, man, we've been shit for a decade or more. Yeah, I'll take that guy. I mean, we're getting 4 wins a season, and this guy could get us to 10 or 12 on the regular.
Hell, we'll take him.
2 seconds, and this guy will be cherished and loved. I mean, that's what happened with Andy Reid, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah. So I think sometimes these guys got to get put in the right situation. you know, you look at Andy, I don't think Philly was maybe the right situation. I think the quarterback has a lot to do with it. And when you get that dynamic duo, you can make some crazy stuff happen, you know? Take Denver way back in the day. I mean, here's another parallel to think about. I think about it sometimes. You know, when Denver had Elway and Shanahan, okay, they were they were a force to be reckoned with, right? Was that Elway or was that Shanahan? Because I don't feel like Shanahan post Denver, post Elway was anything that was ever impressive.
No.
You know, so could you have taken me and made me the head coach of the Broncos, or maybe the head coach when Peyton was at his prime, and maybe I would have taken him to the Super Bowl. I don't know. But I see a lot of great quarterbacks, and if they got a pretty good team, these guys kind of are the coach in a way, you know? So
even from the Peyton Manning comparison, if you take him from away from the Colts playing days and put him in the Denver playing days, you gave him Mike Fox and went to the Super Bowl, lost. You changed the coach, get Gary Kubiak in there, you got a Super Bowl win now.
Yep. So it's funny how that stuff works out. And sometimes I think it's just this, if you know you got a really good guy and you got a great coach, you know, one of those great coaches, and you got a great quarterback like a Mahomes or a Brady or a Manning, or an Elway, whoever, Stafford, you hold on to those guys. You stick with them and you run them out until, you know, they don't last forever, but you hold on to them, right? I think the rest of the league is always constantly playing this, okay, let's move the blocks around. Let's see if we can just get lucky. You know, maybe somehow, some way, this mix that we made might just be this magic golden ticket that just takes off and gets us somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that's luck. I think sometimes you have a GM that's, you know, good in the background and knows how to draft and knows how to put these pieces together. And, you know, sometimes those guys don't get enough credit for what they do.
And if you don't have a good working relationship with the general manager / head coach, then it's not going to be a recipe for success at
100%. 100%. But yeah, I mean, where we're at right now, Denver and New England, not surprised at all. Now, Bo Nix being out, trashing his ankle, that's putting a lot on their defense. Their defense has got to win them the rest of the way, because, I mean, their backup might get some magic, but I don't think Stidham's got it. So
to throw Stidham in this position just like that with a week's worth of reps with the first team is probably not what anybody was thinking. Certainly not Sean Payton. Now, we've seen things happen. I remember watching Frank Reich pull off miracles for Buffalo before. So yeah. I don't want to discount the fact that Stidham may or may not be able to get them a win, but I do believe that he is capable of being able to manage the game and put points on the board. And that's what I think it ultimately comes down to, because if you're able to come out with something as opposed to nothing at all, don't be a gambler in this case. Take the points, play it smart, not necessarily safe, but play it smart, because if you don't, obviously, this bad weather we were talking about prior to the show, it's not only hitting you in the South or us in the Midwest, it's going to be right there in Denver also. Yep. So there's going to be a lot of factors in this game. And I think it's really going to come down to who wants it more, who has been there before. And you're looking at the two coaches that are going up against each other. Mike Vrabel's first year with the Patriots, amazing job, unbelievable job there, going up against the veteran coach and Sean Payton, who's been and won a Super Bowl with Drew Brees. He's got a backup quarterback in an unfamiliar, probably uncomfortable position that he's probably having, you know, who knows what's going through this guy's head. But that is not to say that there is not a chance that he will be able to shine and possibly, potentially, even help Denver win.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right there. A friend of me kind of put it in perspective one time. My buddy Bob, and he was like, because I remember I'd ask him sometimes to be like, "Oh, I think it was way back in the day we were we were playing Denver, and I think he just started, and it was Plummer. And I was like, Jake Plummer, oh man, because I think he came in right after, what was it, Peyton had retired, and I go, is he any good? And he goes, well, hell yeah, he's good. I go, well, I didn't really hear about him in college. I didn't know anything about him. He's like, let me tell you something. There are 32 guys on this planet that are good enough to be starting quarterbacks in the NFL. So yeah, he's good. I'm like, yeah, that's it's a way to think about it. So yeah, I mean, there might be other guys that are greater, but I mean, only 31 other guys in that league that also have a starting position. So, if you're a backup, they at least had enough faith in you to say, hey, you're the next step up if this guy gets injured. What it's 64 now. I mean, they're still really freaking good.
Yeah.
But I think the thing they're going to have to overcome is, I mean, what do you do if you're New England? What's your defensive coordinator saying? Make that guy uncomfortable. Make him as pressured and uncomfortable as you possibly can. Rattle his cage the entire game because he is already uncomfortable. He's stepping into an AFC championship. Don't make it even worse for him.
That's exactly what I would do. But at the same time, if I'm Sean Payton, I'm going to do the exact opposite of what they predict. I don't want to start out the game slow, control the movement of the ball by running it. I want to go out throwing darts. I'm going to get these guys out of sync in every possible way. For what they expect me to do, I'm doing the exact opposite. Kind of like what he did in the second half of that Super Bowl when he went with that onside kick, which ultimately probably won him that Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So Sean Payton's a crafty coach. He's good.
He is good. I mean, you got to be good to. I would say that organization turned around very quickly. He got him. I mean, they have kind of an ownership group right now. They've done well with that organization. They have turned it around. There's a lot of other organizations that are probably very envious of how quickly he turned it around. You go from basically in the bottom feeder category down there with Oakland or, Vegas.
Las Vegas, whatever you want to call it.
Now you won the division, So that's pretty incredible. And, you sit here and you say, well, do you believe they found their franchise quarterback, So it's impressive stuff. But at the end of the day, if Nix was still perfectly fine, he was going to be in that game. I don't know who I'd say I'd favor. I mean, you might give it to the Broncos just for home field advantage, but now I'd probably give the edge to the Patriots.
According to what I'm looking at right now, and it's on the screen, it's just real small, so I don't know how well you could see it.
Yeah.
But the Patriots, they are a 5-point favorite. They've got an over-under of 42.5 points. And the breaking news is that the Broncos could reportedly get running back J.K. Dobbins back for that AFC title game, which would be huge if that happened.
I would agree. Yeah.
And that is a 2:00 game that is on Sunday, the first of two games to determine who is going to go and play for the championship this year.
Yeah. Then we've got the NFC. We've got the Rams and the Seahawks.
That game, I think, is going to be unbelievable. Let me give the odds real quick because they're so close. Now, real quick background. These two teams obviously in the same division, both in the NFC North. These teams play each other twice a year. This year, they split it, one game apiece. The last game went into overtime and ultimately, determined who would win the division and come out with that number one spot. And in overtime, the Seahawks did end up winning. So this is the third meeting of these two teams in the season. I'm super excited about this game more than anything because I believe, based on the prior games that I've seen played, that it's going to be close. So close, in fact, that Seattle, because they're at home, they've got a 2.5-point favorite with an over/under of 47 points. That game's going to be on Fox. It's at Lumen Field, 5:30. It's on Sunday, and I think that this game it's going to be probably one of the funnest games to watch, short of hopefully a good Super Bowl.
Yeah. No, I'd agree with you there. Thinking this one, I think they're both going to be great games. If I'm going to be honest, I think they're both going to be great games. I've been getting my brain back into NFL and out of college because they're so different in a lot of respects. Thinking of that Rams Seahawks game, I want to give it to the Seahawks too, but it's that dynamic with the NFL. I could have the Seahawks right now going against, I don't know, the Browns. It just, I know they're not NFC, but the point is, it's any given Sunday with the NFL. It really is, and that's the part that makes it fun. That level of parity is what makes the NFL fun to watch, because we can think and we can talk about it all day, but you can always be surprised, or somebody can pull out a rabbit out of their hat, or they can just, put the gas on and operate at another level. But man, after what I saw the Seahawks do in the prior game, I have a hard time going against them.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. Let's backtrack for just a second.
Yeah.
New England, Denver. Who do you like?
Given the quarterback situation, I like New England.
I'm going to have to agree with you on that one. We both agree on that one.
Yeah.
And as far as the Seahawks and the Rams, you're going with the Seahawks?
I'm going with the Seahawks, yeah.
I'm going to take the Rams.
Yeah.
And I will post everything on the community post on the on YouTube. You guys want to check it out. That way you see our picks. We don't edit them. We don't change them. Etched in stone, just like the commandments are.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
I think it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I think that ultimately, and the reason why I'm going with the Rams, you've got Matt Stafford, who is probably hands down the best quarterback out of the four left, in my opinion. He's got a championship. He's got talent. He's been a winner his entire career, whether it was with Georgia, whether it was with the Lions, whether it was with the Rams. He's got confidence. He's got a lot of weapons at his disposal. And though they are going to be in Lumen Stadium, where the 12th man is going to be president, I think that we might actually see a chink in the armor of a USC quarterback, which has never actually won a Super Bowl, in case anybody was curious.
Yeah.
I don't know that Sam Darnold's going to be the first, but I feel that Matt Stafford, his leadership, bless you, his expertise, and the fact that he's been there before, and Sean McVay's, he's a sneaky guy. He's good. I think that Mike McDonald, great coach. What he's done in Seattle has been amazing, unbelievable. But they got the work cut out for him.
So, question: would you? You said the best of the four left. Would you still hold that statement to be true, even if Nix was still playing?
If Nix was still playing and he wasn't injured, he's got so much fight and tenacity in him that I would put him probably right par with Stafford.
So right there. Okay.
Right there. And that's not a knock against Drake May by any means, or Sam Darnold. Nothing against them. They played great. They've been consistent throughout the years. But if I have to go and I look at the entire resume of what they've been able to accomplish, not only from their college to pro career, I look at that and I take it all into account, and see one guy that stands above the rest, head and shoulders, and that would be Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, he's definitely the veteran of the group. That's for sure. Yeah.
If you would have told me at the beginning of the season the last four would be Stafford, Stidham, Sam Darnold, and mental lapse. It happens all the time. Should be used to by now. Drake May. Then I would have called you crazy. But here we are, and that's exactly what we have to look forward to.
Injured or not, who would you say currently you would put as the top quarterback in the NFL currently?
Top quarterback in the NFL currently, still in the playoffs, or just in general?
In general. All teams.
All teams. You know, a lot of people are going to say Mahomes. I don't necessarily say it's not Mahomes, but I think that what I think messed up the season, and people don't really take it into account, is the fact that there's things that are going on outside of football, i.e. trying to get a new stadium, working this deal, working that deal. All that takes a little bit of toll on you because it affects you mentally. It affects the way that you play. It affects the way you think. You got a lot going on. You want to just concentrate on winning football games and making the best play and putting your team in the best position to win. So I think that had a little bit to do with it this season. Ultimately, Mahomes has proven that he can go to a Super Bowl. He can win Super Bowls. He's been able to do it with, I don't want to call inferior, but not as many great players. Not to say that Kelsey isn't great or that other players that he's had in the past aren't great, but he's been able to consistently do it, with the exception of this year, which, like I said, I don't want to make excuses for Mahomes or the Chiefs for why they're not in the playoffs, bless you. But I think a lot of it had to do with, outside factors that heavily contributed to, the reason why they're watching the games instead of playing in them.
Yeah. If I'm going to put a blame on anything, I'll just put it real quick. I think the O-line is in dire need of some work. So
they should have never got rid of Thuney.
Yep. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, 2 games I'm excited for. Coming right off the heels of what I thought was a great national championship game. It was cool to see teams that are not, one could argue maybe Miami's a blue blood back in the day. I'm not ready to say Miami's back, but, it was really cool and fun to see a team like Indiana just go undefeated and win it and have 3 national championships for the Big Ten in a row. And that's what I look for in a lot of sports to make them exciting. I like to see parity. I like to see stuff get mixed up. I like to see new teams come out, Cinderella stories, what have you. It gets old watching the same 1 or 2 teams win something all the time,
Right.
So, parity is what makes it fun, whether you're a fan of the team that's dominating or not. But I think it's good for sports. It's good for the league. It's good for everybody.
Absolutely. Change is always good. It might not always be comfortable for everybody, but it's a necessary thing. Get out of your comfort zone and you'll see that things aren't as bad as you might think they could be.
Yep.
And not having the Chiefs in the postseason this year opened up a lot of doors, a lot of opportunities for other teams. And you can't say, well, Mahomes was playing and Chiefs were playing, so they've been to the last, 8 AFC championships. They've been to 5 Super Bowls, yada, yada, yada. Sure. But you know what? They're not there now. So why are we talking about them?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. They're still the squad. I'm still in Kansas City, and, I root for them just like I would anybody else. But I'm also honest with myself, and I can tell you if there's a problem, whether it be offense, defense, special teams, or even the coaching aspect of it, they all contribute to the way that the teams and the players play and react to what's going on, because ultimately they just want to compete. They want to win.
Yep.
It's as simple as that.
Yep. So to wrap it up, who do you got winning it all?
Who do I have winning it all? Honestly,
Winning it all?
I've got the Rams.
You got the Rams winning it all.
I got the Rams winning it all.
So you got the Rams taking it from New England.
I do.
When's the last time we had an NFC Super Bowl champ? The two
Tampa Bay, or last year, I'm sorry, NFC Super Bowl champ, Eagles.
Eagles, that's right, last year. But I think as a Chiefs fan, I've kind of blocked that out of my mind. So
yeah, I try to forget about that. That was awful.
Yeah, easy to forget. Okay, good to know. All right.
That's not to say that, I'm the know-all, be-all, tell-all. My word is doctrine. I'm just saying that I believe that if it comes down to leadership, experience, and just being there before and knowing what it takes to win, I give the advantage to Stafford, and I give the advantage to Coach McVay and to the Rams to take it all. But
so theoretically, hypothetically, let's say you are correct. Would you see Stafford retiring after the end of this year if he wins it all?
If I were Stafford, I would do just like Manning did and say, hey, it's been a great run. I'm going out a winner. I have nothing else to prove. I don't feel like taking the chance of potentially injuring myself. And, listen, I've got nothing left to prove. I don't care about the records. I'm a champion. I've been a champion. I'm always going to be a champion. They'll never take that away from me. Now, that's not to say
I'll go the Packers quarterback route like Favre and Rodgers did.
I feel so bad for Aaron Rodgers, and I'm a big fan of A-Rod. I really am.
Yeah.
But I think that everything went downhill once him and Matt LaFleur butted heads in Green Bay. The worst thing that he could have done for his career was go to the Jets.
Yep.
Nobody wants to play for the Jets. The Jets are like.
So Favre did.
Yeah, it's like I don't understand it. But, Favre was at least able to do something with the Jets to make them exciting to watch. They were actually relatively good when Favre was on the Jets. He didn't just have 3 plays and take out his Achilles and then do nothing. They went nowhere. And this year he had some good games. He had some vintage A-Rod, Aaron Rodgers moments. But I think that at this point in time, unless he's got the best offensive line on the planet with a superstar running back and a slick slot receiver or somebody that can just get out in the flats real fast, I think that it might be time to think about, moving on. Yeah.
No, I think there's a lot to be said, and I think if you're getting up into that later veteran status, and you have the opportunity to go out holding a Lombardi trophy over your head, I think that's the best way to do it, because that's how people are going to remember you. Not that you went off to some other mid-trash team and tried to do something that probably isn't going to happen and, fizzle out, basically. Right. So, yeah, I agree.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about something near and dear to my heart, and I know it's near and dear to your heart too. Let's talk about tools.
Talk about tools. All right, shift gears. What do you got for me?
Well, if you look, we've got DeWalt, we've got Milwaukee, we've got Snap-on, we got Matco, we got Mac, Makita, Ryobi, Rigid, Hercules, Bauer Corded, Bauer Cordless, Makita, and there's still other brands that aren't on here, such as Metabo, Hilti, I don't even want to say it, Hart, Craftsman. All these tools, you can get them anywhere you want to get them. And myself personally, I've used the majority of every tool that is listed here right now.
Yeah.
And I think more importantly, the tool is one thing. You want a quality tool because if it's something that you use every day, that you depend on, you don't want it to fail. You depend on it, it makes you money. So knowing what a good tool is versus what a garbage tool is huge. And
I agree.
it's
So we starting off looking at power tools.
power tools.
Okay. So what's your question?
Let's start out with the simplest thing, and I explained this here recently: brushed versus brushless.
Okay.
The difference being that you're going to have a brushed motor, which is going to have your commuter and your brushes, which you can either rebuild or replace with a like brushed motor.
Yep.
Whereas your brushless is designed to be quieter, more efficient, in some cases more powerful with the lithium battery, which has come a long way. And ultimately, it's the right tool for the right job. And if you're not able to distinguish which tool that is, there's no shame in asking somebody, anybody, or even looking up a YouTube video like this to decide and figure out what it is that you need to use. Now, not all tools are created equal. There's a huge difference between buying a Snap-on tool from the Snap-on guy and buying some tools from Walmart that are made by TTI that are Hart. It's not the same thing.
No.
In this day and age, the way that I see the landscape has changed. The new version of Sears is going to be more along the lines of what Harbor Freight sells with their Bauer, with their Hercules, with their Atlas line if you're into outdoor stuff. And the other ones have outdoor stuff too. They've got their 20-volt system, they got a 12-volt system, they got a 40-volt system. You can walk in there, get your warranty as far as hand tools go, lifetime warranty. It's convenient. They've got over 1,500 stores. They continue to expand on the line. They continue to innovate their products. And I think that right now they are the new Sears. I think the new Harbor Freight, however, is Walmart with their line of Hart tools, regardless of whether they're made by TTI, which is the same company that makes Milwaukee, which makes Rigid, which makes Ryobi, etc. I think it's a huge difference.
Yeah, they also make Oric vacuum cleaners and Shark and
Hoover, and there's so many different things that they make. And the same with SBD, Stanley Black & Decker. You got Stanley, you got Mac, you got DeWalt, you've got it's Porter Cable, Craftsman. There's just so many things that are under that umbrella now. And for the most part, depending on what you do, whether you're a DIY guy, whether you are an individual that just wants to have tools around to be able to take care of your own needs without having to pay somebody to do it, as long as you know what you're doing. And also the fact that it's going to save you a lot of money if you do know how to use tools, what the proper tool is for the proper job, etc. So there's a lot of things to consider: how often you use the tool, the price point of the tool, the quality of the tool, and how often are you going to use the tool.
No, those are all great points. And I think before I get into brands, we could talk about the difference between brushed and brushless.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
You can tell that the companies are all slowly, even some of the cheaper and lower end brands they're all moving towards brushless, right? So the advantages you have with brushless, you hit on a lot of them. You have higher efficiency, right? You have more power. You have more compact motors, right? Because you can get a lot of power out of a much smaller motor when they're brushless, right?
Yes.
There could be some weight savings, other advantages. There's a lot of advantages to brushless motors. One of the things, and I agree with all of those, one of the things I would put as a point of contention that some people like to throw out there is, that brushless motors are more reliable than brush motors. And I wouldn't necessarily say that that's true. To me, that is like saying an incandescent light bulb is less reliable than an LED light bulb, right? Well, we all know that LED light bulbs are supposed to last 10 years, but I'm pretty sure we all replace those things about the same rate as we did normal light bulbs, right?
Yes. And in case anybody doesn't know what LED is, it stands for light emitting diode.
Yes. And there's more complexity in there. The more complexity you have in something, the more opportunities you have for the device to fail.
Yes.
Same thing with a brushless motor, right? Well, you don't have the brushes that eventually wear down, but you do have a control unit that could fry, that could have a bad solder contact joint from dropping it. Those things can get killed, in my argument, just as easily as a brush tool, if not maybe easier, because there's
absolutely.
So, I've got brush tools that my grandpa had for drilling and stuff in the oil field that are way older than I am, and they still work perfectly fine. The thing I've had to replace is the cord, so those things will last indefinitely, and they got heavy use. Those big old drills they're heavy as shit, and they've got the big handles and stuff. That's all brush stuff. All that stuff still works. It's all fine, but it's not going to have the power. It's certainly not light. You ain't going to connect a battery to that thing. But I think that for this argument, you're getting to the point where brushless tools have been out long enough to where, they're going to be a little bit cheaper if they're brushless, but it's getting to the point to where you don't really have to make a concession on price, whether you get a brushed or a brushless tool, right? So then you go back to thinking, okay, well then what is important to me as the person who's going to be using this tool, right? So we're not even going to get into the brands yet, but I'm talking about, how often am I going to use this tool? Am I a DIYer? Am I buying this for my wife who's going to use it to hang a couple pictures once every 2 years? Is it something that I'm going to use, just for random home projects and maybe changing a tire? Or is this something I'm going to be using all the time? Is this something that, maybe I use it just for my own garage stuff? Maybe I use it every other weekend, semi-regularly, but you know what? I'm like, I don't want to worry about these tools breaking. I just want something I know I can rely on. And maybe I want something just like I was talking about with my grandpa's tools. Maybe sometime I'm old, dead, and gone. Would these be tools that are high enough quality that you call them generational? I know some of the times we don't like to think of any electronics these days as being generational, but is this something that where somebody says, hey, this is my dad's old Makita flashlight, still works perfectly. He used to use this working on tools. These are all things to think about. When I think about the brands that I've had and I use for automotive work and around the house work and everything that fits the bill, I've had experience with Ryobi. My wife's got some DeWalt. I've got her a little bag for her stuff so that my stuff doesn't get lost or mysteriously disappear or whatever. So she's got her own tools. I've got...
Your wife sounds like my wife.
Yeah, exactly. You got your own little toolkit. You got,
She's very protective of it. Don't touch my tools.
Yeah, exactly. I will not touch your tools as long as you don't touch mine.
Yeah, it's a fair trade. You can have your little bag of tools, and I'll have my big box over here. And you just play with that.
100%. So I've got Makita, and I had Rigid. I've had a lot of brands for these power tools.
Lifetime warranty on Rigid.
Yeah. Well, lifetime service agreement.
Service agreement. Excuse me.
There's a
little bit different.
Yeah, but I haven't really dabbled into any of the Harbor Freight power tool brands. I've heard I was tempted to buy some of the Lowe's in-house brands. They've got a pretty good reputation. They have a lot of interesting tools. I think it's their competition at that Ryobi level with Home Depot. It's hard when you're recommending these things and you're going down the path. I think it really is important to say, what am I going to use it for and what are my intentions? Because you'll go on a lot of these shows, you'll look at a lot of reviews, and it's easy to say, oh, well, just buy this one because it's the best. And
a lot of people will go by two things that really aren't that important. They'll go by specs and they'll go by price.
Yeah, and it's easy for reviewers and folks on YouTube and people, whoever in that world, to spend other people's money. Well, I'm not spending your money, you're spending your money. So only you know what's best for you given your specific scenario, because at the end of the day, whether I spend, $1,000 on some Hilti impact gun or I spend 200 on a Makita impact gun, it's going to take the wheel off, right? Okay. Well, if I'm only using it a few times a year, many people would say, well, maybe you wasted your money on that Hilti, Maybe they didn't. Maybe they're just loaded and they don't care. Maybe they want a tool that they can pass down. Maybe they just love that brand. I don't know. But what I can tell you is we can look at it pragmatically and say, this is a quality tool. It's expensive. This is an expensive tool, but it's not really any better than the other ones that may be substantially cheaper. And there's a lot to do with those brands, right? And I think everybody knows the hierarchy of TTI. You start in Ryobi. They have good tools. There's a higher end of Ryobi, even better tools. Above that, they would probably place Rigid in that middle line. They're good, solid tools. I wouldn't say that they have anything flashy like Ryobi does. They're not having fans with misters and, all kinds of crazy stuff that Ryobi likes to come up with. And then you have Milwaukee as a higher tier, right?
And Milwaukee, and nothing against Milwaukee, they are more geared or have become more geared towards the automotive enthusiast.
Yeah, I think they found a niche there. And it's a good one because I think you got a lot of guys who need those power tools. And if they're looking on the tool trucks and I'm looking at a Snap-on power tool, I'm not sold on spending 3 or 4 times as much for an impact gun from Snap-on as I am for one that I can get from Milwaukee that in a lot of ways outperforms or performs just as well as the Snap-on. If I have a problem with it, it's easy to fix or replace, like the Snap-on. They don't carry the same warranty on their power tools as they do their hand tools. So I think Snap-on has a problem with their value proposition when it comes to their power tools. And I think got a lot of techs that are sitting there and saying, okay, finally another company gets it and they're focusing on my trade and what I do. Milwaukee focuses on trades. And I think that's where they're really good at. They say, okay, we have a whole set of tools for plumbers. We have a whole set of tools for electricians. We have a whole set of tools for automotive technicians. They're focusing on the people that need purpose-built tools for their specific trade. And they do a pretty good job. And I think the other thing, a lot of folks are buying into an ecosystem, right? And when you're buying into that ecosystem based off batteries, and I know there's adapters and shit like that out there, but you're buying into that ecosystem, right? No one company is ever going to be the best at any given tool that they make, right?
Nope.
So instead of, I could have the best of every tool, but I'd have 50 different brands of tools and my life would be a nightmare.
Yeah, you
So,
don't want that.
okay, at least if I buy into Milwaukee, I know that more often or not, I may not be getting the best tool, but I'm probably going to be getting a pretty good tool. You know, so
100%.
I don't feel like I'm having to gamble or double check or research as much if I want to stay in my ecosystem and say, well, this Milwaukee Impact is pretty damn good. You know, I kind of want to go get their multi-tool. It's probably pretty good tool. It may not be the best. Maybe somebody makes a better multi-tool, but it's probably going to serve me pretty well.
And it's true.
Yeah.
And a lot of tools are like that. And unless you're in the automotive, and I'll use automotive just because that's what I was in for the longest.
Yeah.
You know, automotive, there's a lot of specialty tools because there's a lot of different vehicles, manufacturers, specs, and just so many different little things that you need specialty tools. Not all things that are made by TTI or SBD are necessarily available outside of going to Snap-on, going to Matco, going to Mac, going to Cornwell, etc. So there are some things that the tool trucks do have that the other companies, they don't even want any part of it because they don't. It's not going to be advantageous to them if that tool isn't going to work properly or isn't going to be on par with their competitors and still be at that same price point.
Yeah.
So there's certain things that they stay away from, and they do it smartly, I think.
Yeah, 100%. So, you know, currently as someone who's heavily bought into the Milwaukee ecosystem after being in a couple others, you know, I have to say I'm pretty happy with my choice. I'm happy with the tools.
Great tools.
I see how other people may not be. I mean, there's a lot of people that are like, oh, I'm team red or I'm team yellow or whatever. And it's like, you know, if they made complete junk, none of them would be in business. You know, there's certain ones that are better at other things. You know, and DeWalt has advantages over TTI in Milwaukee. You know, there was one thing I was thinking about, you know, before I got into Milwaukee is, okay, well, if I want to buy this tool and I get DeWalt, I can get DeWalt from Home Depot and Lowe's.
Right.
I can only get Milwaukee from Home Depot.
Yep. Not going into Lowe's finding any Milwaukee.
No, you're not. So, you know, those are things you kind of take into consideration. You know, if you're constantly going to be visiting somewhere or going somewhere and you're like, okay, well, there's no Home Depot in my area for 50 miles or whatever, well, maybe that's not the best choice if you got a Lowe's down the road, you know, half a mile away. Would I say overall Milwaukee's my favorite? To be honest, I'm a pretty big fan of Makita. As far as their tools, I think they don't get talked about quite enough for how good their tools are. And I think the reason is it's always funny to me when you actually look at the prices when you go and you shop for these tools. Milwaukee has this stigma that they're really expensive, right? And they're just so much more money than Ryobi or whatever. So people just go out and they buy Ryobi because they have the bigger display areas. They're right on the end caps. You go to Home Depot, all this other stuff. And they kind of pass by the Milwaukee stuff because they just assume it's too expensive. I buy this stuff. You go on the holiday specials and the deals where they have like, oh, you know, it's a bag full of 10-piece tool sets. Okay. And let's say the Ryobi set is $350 and the Milwaukee set $500. What are we talking about? $150 here. I mean, you're getting a lot better tools for $150 and you're buying into a pretty good ecosystem. So I don't necessarily buy that. They go on sale quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
Makita's issue is they don't have a lot of sales and they don't do those deals very often. Makita is definitely more expensive than any of those tools. And they have smaller end caps, they have smaller display areas, and they have generally a smaller array of tools that you can go into any of these stores and actually purchase. So you have to be kind of committed to understanding that ecosystem is going to be a little bit harder to build up. but they are good quality tools, even though they are a little bit more expensive and a little bit harder to come across as you're just perusing through big box stores.
Right. And they're excellent tools. You can't
They
say
are.
anything bad about them. And honestly, when I was still turning a wrench before Milwaukee got into the game at all, I was a huge fan and still am a huge fan. And I swear by this, Ingersoll probably makes the best out of any manufacturer. But that's my personal opinion.
For the
Ingersoll
power tools?
doing?
For the power tools?
Yes.
Yeah, I can't say that I've actually used any IR battery powered tools. All my IR stuff was always air pneumatic, and all their pneumatic stuff was top notch. I mean, I have that was always the stuff I went after if I wasn't getting like a literally name brand Snap-on, air ratchet or something. I mean, it was going to be Ingersoll Rands, and I can't say any of that stuff ever let me down, and it never had a problem busting a nut loose.
Oh no.
So, yeah, but I can't say that I actually have used or had any of their actual battery powered stuff. I'd have to research that a little bit.
It was really good. You don't hear a whole lot of it right now, and you don't see a lot of it on the tool trucks. For example, the Matco tool truck right now, Milwaukee makes Matco's electric tools.
Oh, do they? Okay.
Mm-hmm. And that's good. There's nothing wrong with that. It just makes them a little bit more expensive.
Yeah.
And it's another option. But
yeah.
That says something from Matco being able to entrust their line, their reputation, and what they've built over the course of their tenure to entrust Milwaukee with making sure that they put out the best quality tool that you're able to sell to your customer in that shop, and they're not going to have a problem with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not going to happen with Home Depot. Or not Home Depot. That's not going to happen with Harbor Freight. There's never going to be a Harbor Freight tool truck. I promise you this right now.
No, I don't think that's their game. It's not going to happen. I don't know. So if you're thinking about it and you're like, okay, if I'm going to recommend to that guy, who is our audience? Who are we speaking to right now? Are we speaking to the mechanics of the world? Are we speaking to the shade tree guy? Are we speaking to just your average dad that may, cut up some wood and drill some holes for, something he's doing for a tree house he's building his kid? Like, because there's a different audience there. These tools, I couldn't even tell you how many tools are in Ryobi's catalog right now. I mean, it is constantly growing. They're all growing. It's a highly competitive market.
And they've got everything from 4-volt all the way up to, I think, 40 or 80 volts. So
yeah,
a lot of options. And they've had the same battery platform for the last 30 years, literally since 1996. You can get an old Ryobi, and I got them laying around, take a new lithium battery, works like brand new.
Yeah.
No problem. Yeah. And they give you the choice of having different tiers and what they sell, from brush to brushless. Their HP line, I believe, is their newest line in the brushless category. And
yep.
I can't say anything bad about it. I can't say anything bad about any of the TTI products, with exception to Hart. It's just, I get it. I understand it. You're in a pinch. You want to have something because it's better than nothing. Walmart's got it. It's ridiculously cheap. I think it's probably almost being given away for free at this point. But if you need like a 20 tool cordless power kit with batteries, chargers, and everything else that you need, you can spend probably $350, maybe $400 and get it.
Yeah, I look at Hart tools in that category as something that like I would have bought. When you're saying I was like, you're 16 years old, your job is pushing carts at Sam's Club or something. You don't have a lot of money after you buy gas and pay your insurance and do whatever else you do when you're 16. and you want some tools to be able to work on your car, do some stuff,
Right.
and that's all you have. And when I was 16, they didn't have hard tools. Walmart didn't have anything even remotely close to that. So if I would have been able to walk in and buy a impact and a drill and 2 batteries and a charger for $50 or whatever it is, I mean, hell, I would have been elated. It's like, okay, yeah, I know it's not the best, but I can actually do something now. So I would wager that that along those lines has got to be their target market. It's that young kid has an entry level job, wants to be able to work on his stuff, but just doesn't have the money to pay for any of this other higher end tool stuff.
Yeah, he's got to start out somewhere, and it's either going to have to be at Walmart, Hart, or looking through Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, or even Harbor Freight and get some of their lower end Pittsburgh stuff if you want hand tools, or you can spend a little bit more money and get Craftsman, which still has excellent hand tools. There's nothing wrong with them.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's just a matter of, are you going to be a mechanic? Are you going to be a mason? Are you going to be a carpenter? What is it that you're going to do? How often are you going to use these tools? And how hard are you going to be using these tools? Also, are you using the right tool? Are you using an impact driver when you should be using a drill? There's little things that people sometimes ignore, or they might not know.
Yeah. Well, those are two that get crossed a lot, is impact drivers and drills.
You got your regular impact, you got an impact driver, and then you got a drill.
Yeah. And then you have drill bits that fit into impact drivers easily. And if precision and a clean hole are not your priority, then and you're just in a hurry, or you don't really care, yeah, those will work. But if those things do matter, it's best to always stick to the actual drill.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. Your work is going to be a reflection of yourself. Now, if you do good work, you'll probably get word of mouth and a few people will hear about it. But if you do bad work, everyone's going to hear about it.
Absolutely. And I see a lot of that. I mean, these days it almost makes me cringe, because people used to do it back before impact were really the small 1/4 inch impacts were really a big thing. Is taking a bit and chucking it in your drill and using that to screw and unscrew Phillips screws or whatever. I mean, you're guaranteed to strip that. You're just pretty much guaranteed to strip it. So yeah, that's a recommendation. Like, try to separate those tools out for what their best use is, because an impact is not going to do a very good job of drilling holes, and a drill is not going to do a very good job of putting in screws.
No,
it's just the way it is. And people kind of just grab whichever one's closest or whichever one's got the bit in it, and it can lead to problems and headaches and all kinds of other issues.
And that's a big part of it also, just having the right tool for the right job and understanding how to use it, and then making sure that after you're done with it, you make sure you got it cleaned off, dusted off, whatever the case may be, because you want to make sure it's going to last as long as humanly possible. You don't want to buy more tools if you don't have to.
Yeah.
Come
up and take care of them.
Yeah, take care of them, especially if that's all you got. Kind of like your first car. Your first car might be a total piece of shit, but it's yours. So you got to take care of it. You got to make it last. You got to make sure you always got fuel. Whatever it needs, you got to make sure it's taken care of. And that's always the way it's been as far as with me. And I know there's probably a 10, 11-year difference in our ages, but I remember watching you and my brother grow up, and you guys always, had a knack for the technical stuff and getting involved and doing things with your hands and understanding how things worked. And at this point in time in your life, you would be considered, and by all means, a master technician, whether it be on the automotive side of things, on the small engine side of things, or just in the general repair market that goes from anything from house, renovations, flooring, fencing, etc. You can do any of that and all that.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you bring that up because, back then I think it was kind of the beginning of the internet, right? To where you could actually use it to search and find out information that wasn't readily available by just asking your dad or, some guy down the road that you may have known that wrenched on stuff. It was the beginning of that. So you felt empowered a little bit to be able to be like, oh, I just researched this, or I just found this. Maybe I could do that. Oh, I didn't know you could do this, and you started wanting to experiment a little bit on your car to see what you could do and what you couldn't do and how you could fix something. And I think it was kind of the beginning of that age. You also have situations where there's a difference between, you could take it something simple like a lawnmower, some kind of piece of outdoor power equipment, right?
Small engine.
Small engines. You could go today and type in that exact model or that exact engine and find a YouTube video of some guy telling you exactly how to fix this certain item or go through this procedure for repairing whatever issue you may have, which is all fine and good. I think that's good because I think you're keeping a lot of stuff in working condition, which I'm a fan of, because I don't necessarily like all this hyper consumerism that's like, oh, the second something doesn't do what I want it to do, I just throw it away in the trash. You're not helping these companies make better products if you do that, because then you're just saying, oh, well, I can just make a piece of crap and you'll just buy a new one. You're feeding into that. I'm a big proponent of fixing things, especially things that are good.
Yes.
Quality stuff. When you're going through and you have something that you need to repair and, starting out with a small engine, it really helps to understand the basic fundamentals of how this thing actually works. Right? Just the baseline in your head, how does a carburetor function? How does timing work? What is the actual process and what is required for this thing to actually run, right? I need fuel. I need spark. I need compression, and I need timing. If you have those four things and they're where they should be, your engine will run. I promise you. You need those four things. Some people say it's three. Timing is very important as well. Yes. So if you understand how those things work, you've got the baseline fundamental understanding of how you can work on any engine, and it doesn't matter if it's a lawnmower or a V8 and a BMW. It's all the same. They all work off the same principles. They all need those four things. Now, the way that those things are built, designed, and put together is all going to be vastly different, and that's where that specific expertise comes in. But if you're looking at these engines, you got to understand, and it's very helpful to know how those four things work. And then you build up to the next stage, and you're saying, okay, well, it's running, but it's not running great. Okay, well, what shows me that it's maybe running lean? What's maybe showing that it's running too rich? What's maybe showing me that timing is slightly off? Once you get to understand what those symptoms are, then you can even get better at fine-tuning that stuff and really, really taking off to where you can almost get to the point where I don't need to research or Google or find a YouTube video on how to get this thing repaired. It actually becomes more fun and more of a challenge to say, okay, without knowing anything about this, let me go through it and see if I can get it working. And I did that with a John Deere 318 I got. I remember it was the first one I got. Found it on Facebook Marketplace. The guy was asking, they're nice. They're wonderful mowers. I love it. I have it. They're very well known. And this guy had one and he was asking $800, which is a really good deal how it was. And I, kind of did my thing. I got him down to $500. And I just was like, okay, well, what's going on with it? What'd you do? What happened with it? Because you said it's not running. He's like, no, I replaced the plugs and I replaced the carburetor and cleaned it out like 2 or 3 times. And, it just doesn't have any spark. It just won't run. I don't know what's wrong with it. Or sometimes it'll fire off just a little bit, but it won't run. I'm like, okay, but it was running at some point before your friend messed with it. He's like, yeah, it was. And then we could never get it running again. So I took it back and I'm looking, I'm like, well, let me look at the carburetor. I look at it. It's very clean. There's no issues with it. It didn't screw anything up there. I'm like, okay, so we have fuel delivery. I am looking at it. I'm like, okay, well, I can hear by the way that it's running, we've got compression. So I'm not worried about that. I'm going to assume for right now the timing is fine, because to mess with the timing, he would have had to actually pull the motor and tear into it. And I'm going to assume that it's fine for going forward in diagnostic purposes. So what we're going to look at is spark, right? Well, the only thing that was wrong with it that was preventing it from running was he had the ground wire disconnected for the points.
On the coil?
On the coil. Okay, so all I had to do was change where that ground wire was, and it fired right up and ran perfectly.
No problem.
No problem. No problem. So, and it's because I don't think that guy understood how the points worked, because a lot of people don't understand how points work.
A lot of people don't understand how batteries work, that we actually get our power from the negative.
Yep. That power flows from the ground. So, those are the kinds of like basic fundamentals understanding, like you just said. How does the power run through the vehicle? How do I test for grounds? How do I test for parasitic leaks? How do I test for all of this stuff? That kind of fundamental understanding just gives you a wide range of power when it comes to diagnosing and repairing and getting vehicles, engines, what have you, back up and running how they should. I've always found that to be fun, to work with. Once you get to the point where you feel like, I don't want to look at how to fix it on YouTube. I want to try to do it myself.
Right. Step out of your comfort zone, and what are you going to do? You're going to break something that's already broken? No.
Yeah, exactly.
Tinkering with things is probably not only one of the best ways to learn the internals and how it functions or how it's supposed to function, but it's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. And, as more things go electric, you're taking the fun out of it. So, more and more power equipment's going battery powered. I get it. Some of it's impressive, but there's something that's fun about a small gas engine and working on it and having that tuned up really well and maintaining it and taking care of it, that you're just never going to get with an electric. It's just not going to happen. So
no replacement for displacement.
There's no replacement for displacement. That's right. So yeah, you've seen some of my videos where I've we all went through the pandemic together, and at that time it was just fun. I was like, man, I got too much damn time on my hands. I got to do something. And this was before everybody thought their crap was made out of gold. And I was just buying Husqvarna chainsaws and stuff like that right and left for like dirt cheap. And
they were giving it away.
And these things didn't run. And I was just like, all right, I'll just make some videos of going through the entire process of getting this thing to run and get back to what it should be doing, which is working. And that was a lot of fun. And I didn't have videos. I was just going through, and we were just saying, okay, let's look at the carb. Let's look at the plug. Let's make sure the timing's good. Let's make sure we got compression. Some of them needed a little bit of a rebuild on that with the rings and some other stuff. But, they're pretty simple, small pieces of equipment. There's nothing terribly complicated there. There's no real electronics or anything there. So it's just, understanding how that thing is working. And, you made a decent little bit of coin for your time messing with them, because you got them so cheap and they weren't working, and you could sell those things off to the pros or other people for $300 or $400 a pop. And, it was kind of fun for a while.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I don't do anything now due to medical reasons, though. I posted some videos I think it was yesterday, about some drywall I did a while back. I blocked them until further notice, but just trying to get out there and show people how to do things and allow perhaps some insight, a better way, a simpler way, a safer way, a less expensive way to get something done. You don't need to try to be the guy over here with all the best stuff. You just need to be the guy that knows how to use the stuff that you have.
Yep. Yep. Well, there's two guys I want to give a shout out to. So one of them is Musty One. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he's a YouTuber, Musty number one, and he does exactly what I was talking about. He will find mowers or four-wheelers or whatever on the side of the road. He'll buy them non-running, dirt cheap, and he will not use any YouTube or cheat sheets. He's just an old tech mechanic guy, and you just kind of go through with him on the process of getting the stuff back up and working and running, and he does a great job. The other guy, to your point, was a guy who used to work on cars and is in an apartment, and he may have had some other health issues or something, but he could no longer work on vehicles anymore. And this guy's YouTube channel I think it's called Watch Revival. So what he does is, because he's so limited, is he just has a small desk in his apartment, and he will find, and people will send him these old, sometimes valuable vintage watches and Rolexes and other things. And he's just got the microscope and the camera, and you just walk through them, and he just rebuilds these things to where they just look absolutely perfect and immaculate. And it's just like, he's like, I can't do the car thing anymore. But this is still, I feel like I'm working on, and I'm rebuilding, and I'm doing all this stuff. It's just on a much, much smaller level, but it still requires an immense amount of precision and understanding and technical expertise to do it.
Absolutely. While we're at it and giving plugs, would you like to give a plug to your channel?
So my channel is GB86. I think it's GEEBEE 86. And it's been inactive for a little while, but I've got some cool videos on there where, like we've kind of mentioned, where we look at some outdoor power equipment and some other things that I've scraped up for cheap or next to nothing, or sometimes free, and at least get it to the point to where I can reasonably get it running and get it in sellable condition. I call them more restorations than restorations, but it's just kind of a fun channel. There's a little bit of computer stuff on there. You can see a couple in the background here. That was also a thing, when it's cold outside and I don't feel like messing with that stuff, or the weather's not good, I'll hunt down some vintage 80s, 90s computers and laptops and bring those back into working order as well on the channel. So we're looking at some point to try to get that going again and get some new videos up for folks that are into one or the other, or maybe both. But yeah, it's fun stuff.
That's awesome. And I will put a link in the description for Grant's channel. That way you can tune in, check him out, see his videos. He's got 2-stroke, he's got 4-stroke. Difference being, one's got an oil and fuel mixture, the other one takes oil and takes fuel. There's a difference. You don't want to mess this up. So Grant's going to be the guy for you as far as anything restoration, as he said, when it comes to your vintage equipment, when it comes to your PCs, when it comes to tech. This man knows things that he's wise beyond his years. I swear to you.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it very much. And, it was good. It was fun. Talk about sports, talk about tools, talk about engines and computers and all the like. And, it's always a fun time. Sometimes an hour and a half is not enough,
Right. I'll tell you what, anytime that you'd like to come on the show, I've only been doing it for once a week. Before I was doing it quite a bit more, but I've been doing it on Wednesdays. And anytime you'd like to come on, you're more than welcome to. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, for sure. I'd love to be back.
Excellent. Well, we'll get something set up and we'll be in touch. And I'll give you a shout because I know the missus is wondering where you are because you only said it's been an hour. I got one of those upstairs too, so I get it, bro.
I'm sure she's all into some kind of show on Netflix or Paramount or something right now.
There's always something.
Yeah, there's always something.
Well, I leave you with this. I give you all thank yous for allowing us to be a part of your evening. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to earn your viewership. Thank you to Grant for taking time out of his evening to be here with us this evening to go over some stuff. I hope you learned something and look for us in the future to come again and get together and chop it up. So thank you all very much.
All righty. Thank you.
Until next time, amigos and amigas, this is Mad Max, the so fucking great variety show host. That's Grant Bell, G Money 86, retro tech enthusiast, and then some. And we'll leave a link for Grant's channel. I highly encourage you to check it out. And until the next one, we'll see you then.
All right.